making time away to make those big decisions about your business and come up with your vision or whatever, that is the time that you can control. You just have to actually make time to do it. And it's your choice to filter out the naysayers, the family that are draining you, the clients that are fatiguing you. That's a choice. You just actually have to do it. And if you don't, that's kind of on you. So you actually can control those things to better your business and better your life.
But you have to take ownership of that situation. You can't place blame. You can't say, well, I'm in this position because of X, Y, or Z.
That doesn't work.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners, it's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. Learn more and subscribe today at eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast. And now, here's your host, Frank LaRosa.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. I am your host, Frank LaRosa, with my co-host, also dressed in blue today. For those of you that are not watching us on video, shame on you. You should watch us on YouTube channel. Stacey, Frank, how you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be back as always, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, we spent a little bit of time out of the country over in Mexico, enjoying ourselves on our top producer trip, which you were right there.
Yeah.
Right?
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. Let's keep going. And so it was nice to be out there. I got a lot of work done. I call it a workation, not a vacation, or not a working on vacation. I call it a workcation.
I witnessed it. It's real. I was swimming in the pool and
At like 5:30 in the morning.
5:30 in the morning, because who else is awake at that time but
Me.
people like us? And I'm like, God, who's that guy sitting at the edge of the pool with his laptop? I was like, oh, it's Frank. And I was like, I swam the other way. Joking.
Yeah, it was good. I got a lot of work done, actually. I got a lot of thinking on the business, and I got a lot of strategic thoughts done. And
It's good advice.
yeah, I've struggled with finding a place where I can go to not check out from the world, but check out at a place where I can quiet my brain to really think strategically. You know, I go to the gym, and that's a check out, right? Meaning, and it's relaxing, it's mentally relaxing, and it's all good. But like, even when I sit at home at my pool at home and I read and stuff like that, I'm not totally checked out, right?
You're still in your routine.
Yeah, you're still looking at the bush that's not doing well, and oh my God, that tree's dying, and there's got to be, and there's weeds over there, and I can't relax.
It's not the same.
Not the same thing. And so, you know, I'm a big subscriber into Scaling Up and a couple of these different programs, and they talk about this, not like a CEO cave, but a place where you go. Some people use, you know, they go to Starbucks or they go to some place. And for me, what I have found is this place in Mexico that we go to is really my place. I read 8 books. We were there for 11 days or 12 days. I read 8 books.
Yeah, you said you had book fatigue.
I did have, on the 8th book, I had book fatigue.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing. I read the book and I underline and I sticky tab, and so it takes me a while to get through a book.
But you didn't just read a book. You read all those books. You also wrote sort of like an operating manual.
Yeah,
not to give it away.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit of a gift at some point down the road. But I did start creating this. I'll call it an operating playbook, for lack of a better term. And I don't want to give it away, but I think it can be used for any financial advisor. It has nothing to do with advisor transitions. It has nothing to do with managing money. It has nothing to do with W-2 versus 1099, none of that stuff. It has to do with running a business. You know, you can use it if you're a financial advisor running an independent practice, but it's also going to be for any business owner. And I don't want to give it away because I'm still working through it. First draft is really for someone that joins our firm. And I want to be able to hand them this thing and say, this is who we are. This is where we came from. This is how we think. This is where we're going. This is why we do what we do for all these various reasons, so that they can get up to speed really fast. So it's an internal document, but I'm converting it because I was actually, this is amazing. There's some books that I read, like Scaling Up by Benjamin Hardy. I've actually read that book 3 times. So I read it just last time, but that was the 3rd time I've read it. And then a bunch of other books, right? Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, and you know, there's Good to Great by Jim Collins, and there's the EOS and traction and all these other things. And so I think all of those systems are good, right? But what you'll find is some of them you grow out of. Some of the aspects aren't really relevant to your practice, your business.
Right, but you're still having some small takeaways.
No,
from
you learn
each,
some, yeah,
and then
right.
sort of redefining
Right.
how we want to operate or how our business wants to operate.
Right, exactly. So I don't want to get into
great
I don't want to
advice, though.
spoil the surprise of what I'm really working on, which is going to be a much more detailed book, but it's going to be awesome. I mean, I was literally up every day, like you said. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning because I wanted to get started on it. That wasn't my intent to have this thing come out. It was really just because we're hiring a new director of HR and people.
Yep.
And so I was like, man, I would really love to have a document for her to give to her so that we can bring her up to speed really fast. And then it turned into this other thing, turned into a much bigger, broader document. And then it was like, wow, this is an incredible document. I need to expand on this thing and share my lessons and learning with more people. And so I'm really working through it. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I think this is a great segue, though, into what we're about to speak today with our podcast.
I thought we were
and
talking about
that
our
is-
vacation.
Oh, well, we are.
Workation.
Both.
Anyway,
but I think
yeah.
the point is, at least the underlying message that I think is good for
Yeah.
our listeners, is that there's a lot of milestone decisions that financial advisors need to make in their business.
Mm-hmm.
I think the point is, and this is maybe rhetorical, but where is your place to go away from the office, away from the routine, to have strategic thinking occur and also be able to make milestone decisions and process and marinate, whether it's retirement or growing into an enterprise or hiring and firing. I think the point is, especially as we segue, kind of teeing you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Making those milestone decisions, you need a protective place to go to filter out the noise, to help gain clarity to make that decision.
Yeah, well, let's just stay on this thread, right?
That was my transition.
Yeah, no,
Tee up.
right. And let's just stay on this thread. We had a topic that we were going to talk about today, but for those of you that have listened to us in the past, we really literally don't outline our episodes. We literally just talk about what we want to talk about right now. What we were going to talk about, and we're going to throw it out. And we're going to talk about that later. So you got to keep tuning in for that actual episode.
But this is important.
But I think this is important because there are a lot of, it's no big secret, so we're not saying anything special, but there's a huge movement, and has been a huge movement of advisors that leave a W-2 environment where they're running a practice and they're moving to 1099 independent space, right? It doesn't matter if it's an RIA or an independent broker-dealer. It doesn't matter. You're a 1099 business owner. You've now moved into and transitioned into a business owner. There are a lot of things that you haven't learned yet, meaning, and we said the expression, you don't know what you don't know. When I was a new business owner, there were things I didn't know that I know now. And I was like, damn, if I knew then what I know now, I would have fucking saved a lot of money on some mistakes.
Well, you would have avoided keeping certain people or going down a certain path.
Yeah, but even
shoulda, woulda.
Right. And so understanding where you want to go, understanding what you're trying to get to. And we ask this question all the time, which is, sort of silly, but what do you want to be when you grow up? Right? And that's an interesting question. And most advisors, when we ask them that question, they don't know. And this concept of finding a place where you can go, it has to be an environment conducive to you being able to think at a higher level and think strategically about where you want to go. And so what I spend a lot of time on is understanding what I would call our industry defining goal is, right?
The IDG.
IDG. In scaling up and in traction or EOS, they call it a BHAG. So big, hairy, audacious goal. Candidly, we just think that name is awkward.
IDG is better.
So for us, it's really about what is that goal that's so big, we don't even know how to get there yet, right?
And it feels untouchable. And anytime we say that, your response is it's supposed to be.
Right, and that's the point, right? So if you read Ben Hardy, Dr. Ben Hardy's books about scaling, and you read not necessarily even, I guess EOS to a degree, and Vern Harnish's book on what's called Scaling Up, which is a much more broader, bigger operational system. This whole idea of this big goal, this big audacious goal, is supposed to be so big that you literally have no idea how you're going to get there. Right. I use Tony Robbins as an example when he talks about he wants to feed 1 billion people around the world. He has no idea how to do it, but that's his goal, 1 billion people. And so it's not a number, it's not a revenue thing, right? Candidly, ours is to be responsible for 1 out of every 10 advisors that moves firms. We want to help those people.
You just put that out there, didn't you?
Right. I'm going to say it because that's what you have to do, right? There's a difference between thinking what your goal is, then writing down what your goal is, and then speaking it out loud to the universe. You've now drawn a line in the sand, right? And so for us, because our purpose is really to help advisors make the right move, not just the next move. And so that is our driving purpose. And so the more advisors we can help, that's what our goal is, right? Help as many advisors as we possibly can make the right move, not just the next move. Yes, it sounds like it's a volume thing, and it is a volume thing, but to us, it's about how can we help more advisors than have ever been helped by any one firm in a single year.
Yeah, well, I think we use the term becoming a household name.
Right.
Not only necessarily in the private sector of householding and
within our
end
world.
client, but I'm saying within our world,
Right.
Become the office name, the industry defining name.
Right. So for me, this place where I go, and I give my wife credit, and you know this, right? Because you know Kim well. She knows that that's my happy place. She knows that I'm out there. She'll like come in and out. She'll go into the room, which is right there, and she'll just whatever she's doing and listen to her podcast or whatever. But she knows I'm out there baking in the sun. I have sunscreen on for everybody, but I love vitamin D, and I got my laptop going, and I'm reading books, and she sees me, I'm highlighting stuff, and she knows that's my happy place.
Yep.
Right. But for me, it allows me to think about that goal, and then how do we get there? And to your point, and what parts of our organization are going to help us get there? What parts aren't going to help us get there? What players are going to help us get there? What players are not going to help us get there? And making some tough decisions, candidly, including some things that I do in my life, like racing, like deciding whether or not that's something that I know, like whether or not that's how important this goal is to me, that I actually think about is the time that I spend racing, and candidly, the money that I spend racing, is that going to slow down the path to getting our IDG?
How much of a distraction is
How
it?
much of a distraction
Right.
is it, both mentally and financially? And can I use those dollars? So like in Scaling Up, it talks about cash as one of those pillars, right? Can I use those dollars to achieve our goals faster? That's how obsessed I am with it right now. As a financial advisor, that's the kind of stuff you have to think about, right? Like, what is your obsessive goal? What is your IDG, your BHAG? And then you have to be like, and again, Alex Hormozy talks about the woman in the red dress. Do you have red dresses in your life that are distracting you from those goals? And look, maybe your BHAG, your BHAG or your IDG, whatever you want to call it, your big audacious goal isn't to become this monster affiliated firm, right? But it could be that you want to help, a million clients, or you want to help however many clients achieve their financial security, or there's could be things, or you want to be like I have one coaching client that I work with, and he is very philanthropically. Actually, we just did a great podcast, so it's going to be Michael Brady. He's a Cambridge advisor. He has this passion for philanthropy, and it's in the core of everything his business does. Mm-hmm. Everything. He has these goals, and so that's what it really means. But in order for you to think about these things, your life moves so fast. Our lives move so fast that sometimes people say, "Oh, I do thinking in the car." Yeah, it's not the same thing. Yes, you're thinking about stuff, but you can't really pull the thread of something. My wife, she got up one morning, and it was like 6 a.m. because I was getting up at 5 a.m. and I was in my chair at 5:30. Which I would say was me and the beachcomber machine out in Mexico. We were the only people that were up, right? But she got out one morning, and she didn't see me, and so she was like nervous, like, where did he go? She's like, oh my God, he got abducted or something. No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, she's my wife. I love her to death, but she's a little paranoid. Anyway, but I ended up going for a walk on the beach, which I don't normally do because I'm not a big beach person. But for me, one of the other tactics that I use, and I learned this from my friend Ed Milet, is when you have a real deep thought that you have to work through, sometimes you have to move. Sometimes you have to be thinking and moving your body at the same time. And so a lot of times, my wife can tell that I'm deep in thought on something if I just go walk.
Yeah, you have to pull yourself out of the routine.
Yeah.
Because whether you intend them to or not, the routine distractions, the day-to-day, checking your phone, that's going to come into play and disrupt you trying to identify what that, IDG or BHAG goal is.
Right, yeah.
You can't come up with that when you're in your normal. Even if you think, well, I'm going to go sit in the library, totally different. Sometimes it just kind of, this is going to sound a little odd, but kind of comes to you from some other entity or phenomenon. Right?
Yeah. So that for me, we came up with our industry defining goal. This was maybe a month or so ago, which was me over the weekend working through that, right? But I didn't really pull the thread, and I didn't really think about all of the things that would be required of us to do and to not do in order to get that goal, right? Because that required much more deep thinking, real honest thinking about what that means. You pray on it, you think about it. I try to connect what I'm thinking about to my gut. How do I feel about a certain thing? And if I keep coming back to the same kinds of thoughts and the same sort of mental conclusion about a particular aspect of what I'm thinking about, then I know it's right.
Yep.
Right? If I keep coming back to it.
Yeah, it's sort of a gut in a way.
Sort of a gut instinct. And again, what I've learned.
And that's hard to quantify.
It's hard to quantify, right? But I'm starting to get there because I can quantify the number of mistakes that I made over the years. And I can say, okay, well, I remember when I made this mistake, my true gut had said not to do that. And I did it anyway because I sold myself on it. So I can quantify, okay, that one cost me $150,000. That one cost me $100,000. Like those mistakes, hiring people that we, like an example, we can say an example. There was one or two people that we hired that I hired on emotion versus gut, and even went against you guys and hired them anyway, and cost me.
But sometimes you just have to, it's sort of like parenting. You have to sort of let them figure it out themselves. And when you work with people long enough, you kind of know, just let them figure it out.
Right.
So there was a little bit of that.
I know there was. I think the point is everybody has a way to learn. Everybody has a way that they think through things. But I've read enough books, and I don't read like nonfiction books. I only read books that I can learn stuff from, business books primarily, right? And operating, scaling, all of the things. Because I'm obsessed with learning about how to be a better business owner, because there's so many people out there that are doing it so much better than me. And I believe in you don't know what you don't know. Even when I read, I read Scaling the Science of, so there's as an example, there's Who Not How, which is Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy, right? Then there's 10X is easier than 2X. Now there's another book.
Good to Great.
The Good to Great, all these books, right? And so, but Ben wrote this book called The Science of Scaling, which is, I think, one of the best, I think it's the best book that he's written. And Ben, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on the show. And I've read it 3 times. And every time I read it, I learn something different. Right. And I think
heard it differently.
Well, you hear it differently because you're in a different place. The signals that you're getting when you're reading something, you're only going to hear those signals when it's the right time for you to hear those signals. It was like years ago, I carried Traction, which is the sort of the EOS book, right? I had carried that for years. When I say carried it, like in my backpack, oh, I'm going to read it this time. Oh, I'm going to read it this time. Oh, I'm going to be on the plane. I'm going to read it this time. And this is when I first started my business. And I would read it and it just wasn't clicking, right? Because I was a one-man band and it was not relevant to me. And then I would read it, I would grow a little bit and I would read, okay, I think I understand it. And then only until I guess maybe 2018, 19, 20-ish or so, I started to lean into it because we had a big enough company, meetings, we were trying to do cadences and all these other things. It started clicking, right? You might say, oh, I read that book a couple of years ago.
Read it again.
Read it again.
Yeah,
I
because
can.
you're in a different place.
Yeah.
You're a different person.
You're a different person.
Right.
You hear things differently. Like,
You're a different business owner.
I'm
a different
amazed.
leader.
Right. So what I do is, if you look at the books that I've read, they're all highlighted in yellow. Like, there's all these different paragraphs, right? So what I do is I go back to that book and I read my highlights. So I'll go to a page and I'll read the highlight, and then I'll go like a paragraph backwards to say, okay, what did I miss in that paragraph? So I'm reading the book almost like reading it in two different ways. I'm reading the highlights, and then I'm going back to read the passage of the page, right? And I'm like, man, I missed that. This is a good point, right? And then I sticky noted, and I'll say I'm a slow learner, but it's not that I'm a slow learner. I need to understand it, right? I'm not looking to memorize something and not be able to put it into practice, because everything I learn, you guys know this, because what they get when I go on these trips, not a vacation, but a workation, they basically know that their phone's going to start blowing up. Oh, Frank's reading again. I highlight the page, and then I send them a picture of the page, and maybe sometimes commentary. We need to do a better job at this, or we need to focus on this, or this is a great point. And it could be it's anything. Because we're obsessed about becoming better at what we do. I say this to you as financial advisors. Number one, this is the kind of stuff that I talk to my coaching clients with. And I'm very selective on the clients that I take on as coaches, because I put a lot of time into them. If you're interested in that, I'm happy to have a phone call with you, but you need to be doing a couple $1 million in production in order to afford it. But I say this because I think that there's a big gap in what firms across the board are doing to help financial advisors that go independent, right? A lot of the firms do a pretty good job, not all of them, some of them do a pretty good job at practice management. This is not practice management. I'm not talking about practice management. I'm talking about being an operator of a business. I was with a client recently. We were at our Arcadios, which is in Atlanta, which is a great small independent broker dealer. I have about 95 practices. It's roughly 250 or so advisors. And my client said, and I've used this line in the past with people. He said, I'm not, he said, when people ask me what I do, I don't say, I'm a financial advisor. He says, I'm a business owner that operates a company within financial services. Right?
Different perception, different messaging.
It's a different message,
right?
Right? He looks at himself as a business owner and operator first, who happens to run a financial wealth management practice.
Right. That's the function of what he does.
Right. That's right.
Right. It's like when people say, "Oh, you're a recruiter." Well, that's one function of what we do.
Right. It's a function. Right.
It's a function.
Right. Not enough firms do a good enough job at helping advisors, especially the ones that are coming from a W-2 place and going independent for the first time, understanding the nuances about being a business owner and operator. This is not like, how do you manage money? I don't care how you manage money. I mean, if you want a valuation, I can give you my opinion about how you should manage the money.
There's so much diversity,
Right. This is about, how do you operate? How do you scale? How do you run the actual business of your business, right? I think that you should figure out where you can go to do these things and just get into some deep thinking, quiet, deep thinking. Let people around you know that that's what you're doing.
Right. Right. And we always talk about working in the business versus on the business.
Right.
And I think there might be some inequality in how much time is spent, because it's easy to get into the routine and the weeds and the day-to-day, but you have to, like at the beginning of the podcast, we're talking about literally stepping out of it, not just going to Starbucks or the library, stepping out of it, hiding in whether it's Mexico or at the edge of the pool, somewhere else, because that's where some of the best strategic thinking, where the IDG came from, those bigger vision goals, because you cannot achieve that unless you're in that mode. It doesn't happen in the day-to-day.
It doesn't happen in the day-to-day. And, it doesn't happen when you're like, well, I can go read in my office or whatever, my
not the same.
Home office or something. It's not the same. But things like really taking an honest look at the types of clients that you work with, right? And are the current clients that you work with the kinds of clients that are going to help you get to your goal, whatever that is. But let's just say it's not a monetary goal. As an example, let's say it's a lifestyle goal. Okay. You want to be able to you want to be able to make $1 million a year, and you want to be able to spend time with your kids or your grandkids, blah, 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 whatever that is, right? Okay. So where I would go with you, if you were a client of mine, a coaching client of mine, I would start immediately looking at, let's look at all your clients then. Let's look at the kinds of clients that you have. Forget about, yes, how many, right? In order for you to do that and do it effectively, what does your book of business need to look like?
Right. And how much time you're spending on,
Yeah.
When you segment out your clients, how much time are you spending on certain segments of those clients? Because they can be eye-opening.
Right. Certain segments of the clients, the deliverables of those clients, what you're willing to get paid for, like how much is your service worth? How much is your advice and guidance worth? And take a hard look. If there are clients that are paying you less than you feel like you deserve, then you have to make some tough decisions. So here's the problem that I have and most advisors. We're good salespeople,
Right.
including selling ourselves.
Right.
Right.
Well, you fall into the line of comfort. It's what you've always done.
Well, comfort, but it's comfort, but it's also self-rationalizing.
Right.
Well, this client, but they,
we were we were college roommates.
Yeah, and I just would feel really guilty. Okay,
Here all the time.
they pay you $3,000 a year, right? And you can justify. What I find is the clients will say, "Well, yeah, but they don't call that often and whatever." But you still have mental drain thinking about that client and managing their money and making sure that they're part of your service model. When you build a service model, and this is practice management, okay? Every time your assistant or you have to spend on I'll just call it a tier 3 client, right? Even if it's only 4 hours a year, 5 hours a year, that's 5 hours that you could have been spending with your tier 1 client. And I can guarantee you, if you can spend 5 more hours on every tier 1 client that you have, they will generate more business for you than all of your tier 3 clients combined. So again, if you come back to this goal of like living a fulfilled, I don't use the word balance because I don't believe there's such a thing. But if you want to live this sort of lifestyle, right, then the idea then is you have to have fewer clients where you get paid more money on them, right? Because you're not spending as much time with them, generally speaking. And it's easier to build service models around fewer clients. And I'm not saying have concentration risk, because someone will say, well, Frank, that's concentration risk. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about having client concentration risk where if any one client left, you're screwed. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about have a set of clients so like my one client, he literally said to me, I have perfect clients. My clients are perfect.
Okay.
He loves all of them. They're all, for the most part, philanthropically inclined. So when he goes away to Czechoslovakia or he went to Ukraine, he goes away for like a month, and he tells his clients, if you have a problem with me going away for a month, you can't be my client.
You're not the right client.
Because they believe in the same stuff.
Yeah.
And so he goes away, he's basically untouchable, unattainable. But his clients know, oh, Mike's in the Ukraine, doing good for people, doing good for the world. I'm not going to bother him.
Yeah,
I'm
because
okay
they do
with
it
that.
themselves.
Because they do it themselves.
Yeah, well, look, people want to work with others that they know, love, and trust.
Right.
And feel connected to.
Right. So this is the
universe.
truthful, honest type of conversations that you should be having with yourself about what you really want and what clients do you have in your world that are going to help you get there and not going to help you get there. And then, if I can get a little bit controversial, what a surprise.
This part's not scripted, by the way.
This never is. She has no idea what I'm about to say right now.
I don't.
But it's not going to surprise you. You also have to take the same logic and apply it to the circle of people that you hang out with. Mm-hmm. The circle of people that are in your stratosphere, right? I won't say pickleball people, but some people might be your family that you candidly are always bringing you down, right? They're always telling you to slow down or whatever it is that they're telling you. We were talking about this in the car, right?
Pass judgment
or judge you for something, or they're always full of drama for whatever reason. Everyone has people in their lives that are just like full of drama. Edit those people. I'm not saying like get rid of family, right? But you have to manage that about when you're around those people and how you deal with that, because they will drain you in helping you achieve and realize your goal, your big, hairy, audacious goal, right? And so those are conversations and that you have to have with yourself that a lot of times you need quiet time. You need a space. Sometimes it's walking. Again, for me, it's sometimes walking and thinking at the same time. I tend to do that when I have to make really big decisions. It really seems to help me. And so anyway, this was sort of a lot to unpack. I just feel like I talk to advisors all the time that are going independent and they're becoming business owners for the first time. And these are lessons that I wish I knew, 16 years ago, right? Candidly, I would say maybe even before that, right? When I was a director and I was a manager and even a producer, I wish I knew these things 20, almost 30 years ago, right? I can imagine where I would be today.
Yeah, but sometimes those lessons don't come at the time that they ought to. And that's
Right.
sort of like the whole evolution around, and we talk about this all the time. There's so much that we cannot control.
Right.
And, making time away to make those big decisions about your business and come up with your vision or whatever, that is the time that you can control. You just have to actually make time to do it. And it's your choice to filter out the naysayers, the family that are draining you, the clients that are fatiguing you. That's a choice. You just actually have to do it. And if you don't, that's kind of on you. So you actually can control those things to better your business and better your life.
But you have to take ownership of that situation. You can't place blame. You can't say, well, I'm in this position because of X, Y, or Z.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It's funny. I was racing a couple, I don't know, maybe a month ago, whatever it was. I forget at the time. And one of the gentlemen that I raced with, I won't use his name because he's a very reserved, confidential person. But this person essentially invented genome therapy, like 40 something years ago. Super wealthy individual. And he's just a nice person, probably one of the smartest people I've ever met. And we race, and he's a pretty good race car driver. I think I'm a little bit better, but he's a pretty good race car driver. He's actually smart strategically on the racing. He was pissing me off one day, using the pawns of the other slower cars to block me. I was like, damn, that was good. Anyway,
I digress.
and then we had another guy that was racing with, totally smart guy, right? But grinded it out since he was 26 years old, with like a meat delivery, worked for one of the biggest meat companies in the world. And was like he delivered like, meats and stuff to the delis and all that other stuff in New York and Brooklyn and all that. And just grinded it out. And has done that for a long, long, long time and super successful. And I came up to my wife and I said, I just feel like I have so much more work to do. And she's like, yeah, but Frank, they've been doing that for this long and, you just started your company. I said, and my response was, it doesn't matter. I could have said, yeah, you're right. Sort of a life-altering moment in our life, late in my 30s, early 40s, and but I didn't. And my answer to that was, yeah, that's not an excuse. I really need to think about where I am today and what I'm really trying to get accomplished, and what is distracting me and getting in my way. And I said candidly, I don't know if racing is the right thing for me to do right now, even though I love it.
Maybe it doesn't have to be all or none.
Well,
that's
my
on
wife
you.
said. My wife said that. Well, you don't always have to be all or none. And I'm like, well, I don't really know how to not try to win.
Sorry.
And so
I agree with that.
So I'm working through that. That's a personal thing.
Good.
But my point is, you have to really be honest with yourself. And I think a lot of people are not honest with themselves about where they are and why they're in that position and what they need to do to achieve the goals that they want, and not be jealous of I wasn't jealous of them. I admired them. And then it made me think about what I need to do.
And that's on you.
Right.
That's on the individual.
Yeah.
And that you can control.
And that I can control.
That's right.
And so this has been my obsession basically since then.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen all of a sudden I'm like, I'm sort of like finding another gear right now.
Yeah.
And everybody goes through those periods of time. But anyway, so with that said, listen, I think you need to listen to this and maybe go for a walk and listen to this again. Think about what you're trying to get accomplished. For advisors that are listening to this and you're thinking about making a move, why are you moving, right? Why are you moving firms? What is it that you're trying to get accomplished? Be honest with yourself. And then make sure, like we talk about, you make the right move, not just the next move, right? And that right move is about where are you trying to go. It's very easy to find you a firm that is maybe perceptually in the short term better than where you're at. We can easily do that, right? But it's a little bit harder to find the firm that's going to help you achieve your long-term goals and see a path where that firm can help you do that. Where we were, it starts on Monday, that was where we spent a lot of time. Focus at that meeting was, he's like, hey, listen, I'm going to grow my business no matter where I am. I'm going to, right? But I need to know what you're going to do to be accretive to the growth of my business.
Yeah, and I think so many advisors, I have a number of advisors I'm working with now that get so stuck on what's on the surface. You know, I'm at a 3 basis point platform fee stage, so for me to make a move, I need to get to 2.5.
It's like,
and it's just sort of splitting hairs. And and we go through that exercise. But I'm trying to, our style is try to uncover what's behind all that is so much more deep within what you're trying to achieve. It's not about the basis point. It is on the surface, but how will that slight change help you achieve your industry-defining goal for your business?
Right. Yeah.
It matters.
Yeah. I think that advisors get too wrapped up in the 2 basis point versus 1 basis point. And we're not saying that there's not money involved there,
it's
right?
Important.
But if a firm that's offering 2 or 3 basis points is the better firm for you to help you grow faster, you'll probably actually make more money.
Correct.
And that is the game, right? Like we're in the money business, right?
Yep.
That is the ultimate game. Don't worry about how you get there percentage wise. What you need to worry about is that you're going to go to that firm and they're going to grow much, much, much faster. I'll use this stat, and this is maybe a plug, maybe it's not a plug, whatever. Advisors that go to Ameriprise as an example, historically, and they have stats to back it up, so I'm not like pitching something here, right? They just have the stats. The average advisor, some of these firms grow anywhere between, right now, if you include market growth, I guess, they grow anywhere between 8 and 9% on an annual basis, right? If you think some market growth, right? The average Ameriprise advisor grows at 12.5%. So they have stats to show if you come to our firm, we're going to help you grow north of 4 to 5 percentage points faster than our competitors. And so, yes, we might be a little bit pricier. Your payout might be a little bit lower here, right? But over time, you're going to make more money here because we're going to help you grow faster.
Well, there's a roadmap. There's a system.
There's a roadmap and a system, and they can point to all that. I'm not going to get into that because we're not trying to pitch Ameriprise here. But the point is, that's the point of that when you have to look at where are you going to go that's going to help you achieve your actual goals,
correct,
right? And don't get caught up in the weeds.
That was the point.
That's the point. And so, and you need to be thinking about these things. You need to be thinking about, again, circling back to our original point, thinking about what it is you're truly trying to get accomplished in your life with your practice. And I think that's where we do an exceptional job.
Yeah.
If I can toot our own horn, we do an exceptional job with our clients, helping them connect those things versus, yes, they get money and we do the deals, we negotiate the deals. But candidly, I just think that there are firms out there, recruiting shops, they're really just like, okay, just let's help you get the best deal possible. And they're not diving deeper into these things because it's harder to do, right? It takes more time for us to have these conversations and have an advisor open up to us about what they're really trying to get accomplished and why and all these other things.
So much more valuable.
Yeah. So anyway, listen, if you want to have a conversation like that with us, we'd love to have those conversations. Obviously, reach out to Stacey at
eliteconsultingpartners.com, or my direct line is 856-816-6322, or
Frank at eliteconsultingpartners.com, 856-316-4651. Don't forget when you email Stacey, it's Stacey with an E.
Oh, right. Don't forget the E.
So
people say that to me, but
yeah,
Stacey, they tell me, don't forget the E.
You're Stacey with don't forget the E, right?
So funny.
And we're happy to help you with that, right? I guess you do have a psychology background, so that certainly helps.
Yes.
A master's, not a background, but actually a master's degree.
Yeah,
so
master's in
So
counseling.
you know a little bit. You know a little bit about
everybody
that?
wants time in the chair.
Yeah, everyone wants time in the chair. So anyway, with that said, wasn't the show that we intended it to be, but it was a great show nonetheless. We hope it helped. This is called Advisor Talk because I think these are the things that advisors should be talking about. And hopefully you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics in the financial services industry, or you just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcasts.